What is the difference between structured sober living home and a halfway house? What is the difference between a structured sober living home and a halfway house? There are negative connotations associated with the term halfway house, and they're both group homes that are set up to help people that are struggling with substance use disorders and transition from halfway house. Used to be called a halfway house. It's from jail to living on your own. And a sober living home, I would say, is more like from treatment to living on your own. So from rehab to living on your own. But a halfway house can also be somebody that's not court ordered, not coming from jail. And so the rules, the structure, the accountability is set up differently. The structure is set up differently. A halfway house versus a structured sober living home. Typically, a structured sober living home is going to have full-time W-2 employees as the members of the staff, as the team members. And when you have the house managers being full-time W-2 employees, meaning it's not just a senior resident that gets free rent to be the house manager. When a senior resident gets free rent to be the house manager, many times they've been sober for less than 30 days. That means that they have another job, so they're not really around, and they haven't been clean and sober that long, and maybe they don't even have very oversight or training to be in the position that they're in. Whereas with a structured sober living home, the house managers are full-time W-2 employees. There's a training program set up. They don't have another full-time job. Their full-time job is to be the house manager. At a structured sober living home, there's going to be random drug testing 2 times per week. And it's 2 times per week, every single week. It's not just when the house manager thinks that you might be high or thinks that you might be drunk. It's random, because drug testing in a sober living environment is preventative. The reason why we drug test is because you know that you're getting drug tested, not because we think you're drunk, not because we think you're high. And if you know you're getting drug tested, then the next time the opportunity to get drunk or high comes your way, you're not going to do it, because you know you're going to get caught and you know you're going to get discharged. Curfew. Typically, there's curfew set up at a structured sober living home, and there can be more rules like out of bed by 8 o'clock, beds made, chores done, no TV from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Technology assisted care is something that is seen, or that happens, that is utilized at a structured sober living home. And technology assisted care, along with GPS tracking, along with activity tracking, along with communication with the house manager or any other support staff that might be a team member of the sober living home. Food, many times at a structured sober living home, is included, which when food's included, it's good because it promotes the community. One of the biggest fights that happen at a sober living home or a halfway house is because people are stealing food. So anytime you have a group home environment, if the community, if food is provided by the group home, it makes it easier. It promotes the community, because all of the food in the house belongs to everybody in the home. 12-step requirement or work in a recovery program is a requirement at a structured sober living home, whereas with a halfway house, it might not be a requirement, or even if it is a requirement, maybe it's more like a suggestion, because even if it is a requirement, if there's not staff on site that's paid to facilitate recovery and hold the clients accountable to the rules of the program, it's not as likely to happen. Self-care being a requirement, that would be something that you would see in a structured sober living environment or a structured sober living home program. Gym memberships many times are also included. Neighborhood location. So a nice luxury sober living home is going to be in a nicer neighborhood with that is more I don't know if I want to say conducive to recovery, but it's not. It's more of a family neighborhood where you're not going to see the drugs and the drug dealers and the needles and so forth in that type of a neighborhood. Halfway house clients many times are court ordered. So halfway house, many times when people go to jail, they're court ordered to go to a halfway house for a period of time after they leave jail. That's part of their probation. It's part of their parole. Whereas you're not going to see that in a sober living home environment. Not to say that it hasn't ever happened. Typically, the residents at a structured sober living home are coming from a treatment center as opposed to coming from jail or an institution, or not an institution, but jail. Also, sober living homes, because of the way they're set up and because of the W-2 staff and because the staff is trained and supported, many times they're able to accommodate not just drugs and alcohol. So halfway houses are typically just substance use disorders. Structured sober living homes that have the accountability and the support and the structure set up correctly can handle people with substance use disorders and also process addictions like gambling, sex addiction, and mental illnesses. Not severe mental illnesses, but mental illnesses. The cost of a structured sober living home is many times going to be much higher. So halfway house might be $100 or $200 a week, whereas a structured sober living home can be anywhere from $2,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month. I've seen $50,000 a month in some places like New York and LA. But in Arizona, a good high quality structured sober living home is typically going to be anywhere from $3,000 or $4,000 a month up to like $8,000 to $10,000 per month, depending on which type of a house and depending on if you have a private room, a luxury suite, or just a bedroom with or a bed in a shared room. And many times a structured sober living home is going to require a longer time commitment. So a monthly commitment at the very least, and sometimes a 2-month commitment, sometimes a 90-day commitment. So you're going to see that in a structured sober living home environment. Whereas with a halfway house, many times it's just weekly. It's weekly, again, $100 to $200 per week. So there are huge differences between a halfway house and a sober living home program. One's a program, one's going to be more like a weekly pay as you go. And many times people at the halfway house model don't necessarily want to be clean and sober. Again, they're court ordered, so they're there because they have to be there. Whereas with a structured sober living home environment where somebody's paying for 1 or 2 or 3 or even 6 months up front, they typically want to be there. They want to be clean and sober. So my experience, structured sober living home environment is much more conducive for somebody that wants to be clean and sober.